Buildings going up everywhere. They can't build fast enough. New ones added. Then they got the emergency clinics besides that to go to. It's spreading like crazy and they still can't keep up. You go to the doctor, the emergency room, bleeding. You sit there in the emergency room bleeding for 6 hours. Yes, this just occurred. I'm telling you the truth. Do you really want to be a part of that world? Someone yells, no. There's only one thing you can do. That's get out of it. Come out of it, Yahweh says, so you won't be suffering these plagues. Praise Yahweh, applause. Well, the Syrian nuclear conflict, I think there is a great danger of a nuclear war sparked between the United States and China. China, the one that Malachi Martin even named. He named Russia too. In the United States and Russia, this article says these are the news and analysis from Press TV. This is an article from Press TV, April 13th, 2013. And the United States and Russia over either the Syrian and Iranian situations in the Middle East or over Korea in Asia. The U.S. provocations are even more severe in the sense that they are sending nuclear bombers over Korea. The United States, you get that? They are sending nuclear bombers over Korea, nuclear arms, submarines, and ABM systems, all of which are seen correctly as the surrounding of China. This is our country, the United States, according to Press TV on the 13th. General Dempsey, the head of the Joint Chief of Staff here, who is the same mind in the U.S. countering the Obama and British build-up for war, was asked. He's the one that was asked, and these are the answers that were given by him. These little things that we see going on, of course, they were put into operation by the Catholic Church years ago. What is suffered from it? Of course, it's getting to all the world. This surgery spread cancer? We just read this week about a famous actress. Now, if you remember the scriptures, Yahweh said that this is going to come down upon you to the third and fourth generations. The third and fourth generations are going to suffer from great-grandmother's sins or great-granddaddy's sins. That's what we're seeing in the world today. This person was afraid because her mother had already died of this after a long fight with the cancer. Her grandmother had died and her great-grandmother had died of the same thing. You have your 4 generations there. She didn't have cancer yet, but she knew it was in her body. Well, they're getting now to where they can actually detect some of these things. Some of the lies that go with this is that we can get rid of it. So they have what they call a biopsy. Now, I was reading about this years ago. I don't know how many years ago it was, but I believe I was either working in the State Board of Health Laboratories, or it was shortly after that when a knife hits a cancer, the cancer cells are released into the bloodstream. So the people think they got the cancer cut out and it's gone, and that will be it. And they leave the hospital thinking this. They don't leave the hospital thinking that anymore because there's too much proof that it doesn't go that way. This article right here is entitled, Can Surgery Spread Cancer? Two-thirds of cancer patients have surgery, but over the last 10 years, a debate is heating up over whether this supposedly life-saving orthodox medical approach to cancer is actually making matters worse. That's the debate, and they got a lot of proof here. Matters worse. Cancer surgery may increase the risk of spreading cancer. The truth is that this is not a new debate. As long ago as 1995, The Lancet printed an article about whether prostate cancer surgery could spread the disease. Cancer is a multi-step process. The step includes inflammation, to forming rogue cells, to needing a blood supply, to growing a tumor, to metastasis. And much more. Recent studies have shown in some cancers, like colon cancers, the firing off of rogue cells. That's what they mean, like hitting it with a knife, and it spreads like a shotgun blast. The firing off of a rogue cells occurs very early in the process. They then lie dormant, waiting to be stimulated into action. Now, I want to remind you of the third and fourth generation. Your sins today could actually cause your great-great-grandson to be born with cancer, with these rogue cells lying dormant in your body. In fact, you may have them. You probably do have them right now. Everybody sitting here probably has rogue cells of cancer in their body from the sins of bestiality, fornication, sodomy, and adultery. If you read about bestiality, which I've been studying a lot, I have a large file of this. There's a lot shown on it and how this activity is spreading, and along with it, the bacteria and viruses that the pig or the dog carry with it all the time. It doesn't hurt the pig or the dog, but when you mix your fluids with it, it breeds confusion. When a woman or man breaks the law given to them in Leviticus 18 and those fluids mix, yes, they definitely go into your body and they are rogue cells. And 4 generations later, your offspring will still be suffering from those rogue cells. That's how important it is not to ever give in to that kind of stupidity. I beg you to read the article in this next month's Prophetic Word magazine, because there's so much of this stuff I don't want to say on television. It hurts to have to say what I just said, but it's there. And the way to get it is just go ahead and break those laws. You can do the same thing with another man's wife. You can do the same thing by fornication. You can do the same thing with sodomy. This throat cancer that Michael Douglas thought he had thinks was wiped out. Now, Michael Douglas is righteous in a lot of ways. He's the one, if you remember, that got the team of actors together and they demanded that we stop war. That's what we're doing. We're demanding that we get rid of the weapons if we could. If we could stop the wars, we would have it wiped. We'd have it wiped. Because to stop the wars, we'll have to turn to the laws of Yahweh. That's right. Praise Yahweh. Applause. Well, that would straighten out all things. Not just stop the wars, but it would also stop diseases and disease epidemics. And then you wouldn't, after a while, the generations would not have this. The reason that we're going to be changed over, the reason we're made in the fleshly body where we would suffer these things, Yahweh wants us to witness it. He wants us to witness what sin does. Satan was made to live an eternal life. Satan herself, but she's dying, and Yahweh shows it won't be long until she will be dead. She knows she's dying, and Yahweh shows the exact time as to how long her body is actually going to last her, when she's actually going to die. Find rest, as Isaiah puts it. He shows that she will die, and she's dying now. She knows it. She's got to know it. But she thinks her doctors can save her, and her doctors are much, much smarter than what we have on the earth at this time. We're made lower than the heavenly beings at this time, so our intelligence is not as great as theirs. Yet their intelligence, with all of its greatness, will not save that woman. She's dying from the same thing that we're suffering here on earth. How many operations has she had? As far as I know, the scripture doesn't tell us that. It just shows that she's dying. When Yahweh changes you over to an everlasting body, you alone are going to be governing that body. And if you do these stupid things, Yahweh is going to say to you, how did you ever get in here? How did you get in here with this kind of sinful thing in your mind? Remember where your white robe, where's your white robe, Revelations? How do you get in here without the righteousness? This white robe, then he will bind you hand and foot, and you will be cast out into outer darkness, along with several other heavenly beings that are also going to be cast into outer darkness, that were made to live forever. You have the opportunity now to be called into Yahweh's work, trained for an everlasting position. Yahweh wants to make sure. That's the reason he tests you, he tries you, he puts things in front of you that is he allows these things to be put in front of you to see what you're going to do, to see if you'll accept this white robe or not, or golden robe as he's got laid up for you. Yes, actually above the white robe, because you believe without seeing. Praise Yahweh, applause. Well, what do you believe? You've got to believe that you've got to submit. You've got to believe, and then you've got to practice it. You've got to believe that you've got to be obedient to Yahweh's every word. Every word. This will bring you joy in life. Believe it or not, the more you practice his laws, the more joyous you get. I can testify to that. Praise Yahweh, applause. But if you turn to sin, it will be available. So the same things that you're turning from right now will be available in that world. And as Yosef refused to sin with Pharaoh's wife, as he refused it, that's what you need to be doing yourself. You need to refuse all kinds of sin, because every little sin is going to bring back a curse into your body. And if you do this in the future, even after you have your eternal body, you will be laid somewhere where you won't affect others, and you'll be kept there until you die. Now that is the output of this sinful life. It won't be allowed in the kingdom. We're looking for a kingdom where righteousness dwells. Righteousness only. Praise Yahweh. Applause. Let's see. Recent studies have shown in some cancers, like colon cancer, the firing off of rogue cells occurs very early in the process. Then they lie dormant, waiting to be stimulated into an action. And this is why people who have had their colon cancers cut away suddenly experience secondary cancers in the distant parts of their body several years later, several years or even months later. And so we always refer to cancer as an all-over body disease. Well, what causes cancer? Now listen to me closely, because I asked the scientific world this, and they're now coming back with the answers. STDs cause cancer. They admit this in the article of Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas said it. So did his doctors. STDs cause cancer. So yes, these cancers, and brethren, there's not just one kind of cancer. There's thousands of kinds of cancer. There's several kinds of cervical cancers, several different kinds, and they got a shot for one. And it's only 75% effective, or something like that. They're saying for the one kind, there's hundreds of those things. Also ovarian cancer. This same person, now famous actress, is thinking about going back now and having some more cut out, just in case she might have it there. That still won't stop it. The man that died of the heart attack, this man probably had a cancerous cell in his heart in just the right place. So when it started eating, he died. 51 years old, and he's dead. A rich man that can't afford all kinds of doctor treatment, and now he's dead at 51 years old. Well, what caused the cancer? An STD. His life was filled with sin, like the whole world's life is filled with sin today. Remember, they did away with the laws. Daniel 7 showed they did away with the laws. Genesis 10 showed the Nimrod system. Nimrod means they rebelled. They rebelled against Yahweh's laws. That started the STDs to rolling. They started filling the body and causing what they call cancer, tuberculosis, chickenpox, all kinds of names they put on it. But it all comes from STDs and eating of unclean foods. The pigs wouldn't have to have a virus to be unclean. Yes, they'd be as clean as, or they'll still as clean as they'd ever be. Go ahead and eat them. They just died of a virus. Yeah, you can go ahead and eat them. This won't affect you. Well, what else is in the pig that will affect me? They haven't got sense enough to ask the question even. What else is in the pig? Why does Yahweh say it's unclean to me? And why does he say that I can become abominable? That is, I can spread the disease to other people living around me, touching me, and so forth. Why would he say that? How did he know that? That was before microbes. Dr. Pfizer hadn't been here to invent the microscope at that time. That was 1400 BCE, almost 1,500 years before Yeshua, 2,000 years before. And they knew there was something in that big. Why don't science know this today? And why don't they stop telling you these lies? That pigs are okay to eat. Just referring to the virus, of course. The virus that killed them. If they'd wait long enough, they would see the other things that also killed them. And they take them to the market. They take them to the slaughterhouse just before they died and butcher them. And they say, put them on the market. Well, this is clean. No, it's not clean. It's never been clean. They're like buzzards. They're worse than buzzards because people won't eat a buzzard. He's too ugly looking. But they will eat the disguise varmint here that's full of death. And so we always refer to the cancer as an all over body disease, one which loves glucose and growth hormone and hates oxygen and a strong immune system, cutting out a lump in one place unless the diagnosis has been made at an extremely early stage. Well, how would you diagnose something before a child is born, stupid? Think of this, stupid. Ha ha ha. You know, sometimes I want to just scream at them. Here the people being born with these things in their bodies. They'll make a diagnosis. It's already there in your body to begin with. And they make a quack statement like this, cutting out a lump in one place unless the diagnosis has been made at an extremely early stage. Yeah, like 4 generations ago. That would be how early you would have to make it for it not to be there, is unlikely to remove. But even this, it does make a little sense. Cutting out a lump in one place is unlikely to remove all of the biochemical imbalances and messages around your body. Yes, it won't remove it. The issue is called seeding. Seeding, like you plant a seed. You plant a seed and you watch it grow. Namely, that's when a needle is used up to 15 times to take samples across an area where they suspect cancer. It might hit an area of cancer on probe 3 and pass just a few cells on when probing all the following areas. Now, what he's saying is you stick a needle, you're trying to find cancer cells, you're doing a biopsy, and you're trying to find a cancer cell. So you're checking this to see if there's a cancer cell. So you pull a little bit out of each one of these probes, and you do several across here. Well, probe 3, he says, so you hit a cancer cell, you burst that,